Hi everybody, welcome back to the channel. Sorry it's been a bit of a while since I last posted due to work commitments, but we've got a few videos lined up now, so I'm hopefully going to get a bit of rhyme and reason to the channel and have a bit of a schedule in place. So I've recorded a few videos, this is the first of which, and it's just a bit of a review of the Jaguar X-Type, and in particular the estate. So just to go over a few facts and figures for the Jaguar X-Type, it was actually launched as a saloon in 2001 and it ran all the way until 2009. You do see some, very rarely do see some 10 reg X-Types, but they did stop making them in 2009. The code name for the X-Type was the X400, and when it was launched there was a bit of controversy at the time, because Jaguars were always rear wheel drive, and as the X-Type was on the Mondeo platform, the Mondeo platform was a front wheel drive platform. However, it could accommodate four-wheel drive. So what Jaguar did is the launch vehicles were an all-wheel drive system with the rear bias, so it got away with, even though it was front wheel drive architecture, they tried to give it a rear wheel drive feel. Seemingly they gave up with that idea as years rolled by, because eventually they did just start selling front wheel drive versions, predominantly with the diesel engines. Now, as I said, there was a lot of controversy with the X-Type. A lot of Jaguar purists, or should we say snobs, weren't happy, because basically their argument was that the X-Type is basically a Mondeo. In actual fact, only a very small amount of the parts from the Mondeo went into the Jaguar. A very small amount. I think it's around 80% of the X-Type is Jaguar. The parts they did take were from Ford. Well, the parts that, to be honest, were already pretty good parts. They took the engines from Ford, which were good engines, the V6s, which were all based, if you know about Mondeos, you'll you know the lineage of them, but the STs were V6s, and they released the V6 in a number of different sizes throughout the years, from 2.5 I think to 3 litre, and in various states of tune. Now all the Jaguar petrols were V6s. They started with the 2.1, which obviously was just the 2.5, you know, probably on the stroke reduced down to 2.1. You had a 2.5 and then you had a 3 litre. What Jaguar did do though, whilst the block and everything were the same internals, Jaguar did put their own head on, so they ended up getting a little bit more power out of them than say Ford did. So if you look at the figures for say 3 litre ST Ford and the Jaguar equivalent, the 3 litre V6, you will notice that the Jaguar does kick out a little bit more power. That said, the engines were very good engines, not a lot goes wrong with them. I've actually had the Mondeo version, and they did have issues with the oil sensors not working very well, so you could literally run out of oil and not know. Other than that, they were a pretty solid engine. Now, the car that we're in today is the diesel, and it's not a saloon, it's the estate. The estate was designed by Ian Callum, or the back end of the car, I suppose you could argue. Now, Ian Callum is very famous, and you know, he's well known within Aston Martin and Ford designs. He's designed some really fantastic cars, and with this X-Type estate, I think it looks great. It's looking dated now, yeah, but when it came out, it was a very good looking car. Now, just talking about this X-Type in particular, I bought this car very cheap from auction, and it had an issue. were coming up with faults, and it was coming up with a gearbox fault. Now, it's a common problem with these 2.2s, and I believe also the 2 litre diesels, and they get coked up, the turbos get very coked up, and it causes the actuators to start sticking. So when the actuator sticks, the car's calling for power, the actuator's trying to move to let more, more air in, and to release more torque, and the car doesn't know that it's the actuator that's sticking. It thinks it's the gearbox that's at fault when it isn't the gearbox. And so many of these cars get slung on the scrap pile or go to auction, and there's nothing wrong with them. This particular car, we put in some additive, and after a week it had almost practically fixed the car. What I did do is I actually drilled through the manifold, or sorry, the exit side of the turbo, and sprayed in some oven cleaner. It sounds a bit drastic, but it's actually a very good way to clean the turbo. Once I did that, ran it for another week or two on additive, and the car just hasn't missed a beat. It's absolutely fantastic. And this particular model is on 129,000 miles, so it's no spring chicken. It's an 09, so it's a facelift version, and it's a 6-speed auto. All the later 2.2Ds, the last of the line, they all seem to be automatics, and to be honest, it's the pick of the bunch. I've not driven the petrol versions. I've experienced the engine in the STs, but I've not experienced it in the Jaguar. I've nothing against them, but personally, if I were going to buy an X-Type, I would be looking at an estate. For me, I prefer the estates, but if you go for the saloon even, a tip from me would be look for that 2.2D with the 6-speed auto. So the last runs got the 6-speed auto, and it's an Acing Warner gearbox. Very good gearbox, very reliable, as in many cars, BMWs, Peugeots, many cars, pretty faultless gearbox. And this car's been fantastic, it really has. It's given no problems. MPG is very good, considering the age of it. The MPG is very good on it. Around town, getting about 33, and when that's sort of 1 and 2 mile runs. On a long run, I've seen people getting sort of 60 miles per gallon out of them. So, that's good going. And to be fair, there's not a lot. It drives lovely, as you'll see from the video. It does drive absolutely fantastic. So yeah, a thumbs up for me on the Jag X-Type. Let me know if you've driven an X-Type. Let me know below your thoughts on it, and I'll catch you on the next one, guys. Thanks.